Welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. This is our 11th episode, which is exciting. We're now officially rolling into double digits. We have an exciting episode today. We're going to talk about a review of a really good honey whiskey that we're drinking right now for this podcast. We're going to, for entertainment, we're going to talk about the new Irishman movie that's on Netflix, or if you saw it in the movie theaters, depending on where you caught it. And we're also going to talk about, give you an update on the Mandalorian and Disney Plus since its debut a few weeks ago. And for fantasy, we have some interesting topics that I think you guys will be interesting, and as usual, probably may disagree with some of our decisions. Let me welcome my co-host, Big Meat.
Excellent mix of topics today, Azar. It's quite a few. This might be a long one, which is okay.
It's due since we got back from vacation from being together.
That is true. We had a lovely time down in Florida with our families, and went on a lot of rides.
We did. Some of us went on more than others. Some of us were ashamed and embarrassed.
Yeah. We had our Harry Potter wands walking around like dorks, using our stupid wands, and one of us was. I was gonna say one of us anyway was drinking a lot of butterbeer, and it wasn't hot down there, so I was never really thirsty, but like I love the butterbeer so much, so I went and got it. And then usually when you're down there, you're thirsty, you're sweating, you're hot, you drink it, and you feel refreshed. Whereas this time I drank it, and I started feeling sick afterwards. I was bloated. It's like, can't be drinking these things on a cold day in Florida.
Well, when you're drinking like 2 or 3 a day, it's
that
probably,
is true.
It's probably not the best thing.
It's good stuff. It's certainly delicious stuff. It's the only time you could drink it when you're down there. So,
yeah, well, you are a big kid.
When in Rome.
Yeah, you're a big kid. It was interesting. We did. If you're going down to Universal, I gotta say the new Hagrid ride lives up to the expectation in the long line. It's definitely worth. There's not a lot of rides that come out that you sat there for over an hour and say, boy, that was worth every penny of waiting for it. But that ride was probably one of the better rides I've been on.
Yeah, it was good, and I'm waiting for you to share your story.
Oh no, I don't want to embarrass you, but
we can say it because it's okay now because I did happen to go on it. So the story is, we waited in line. We finally were able to get up to the ride. It was 12 of us, right? We're all like getting into our seats, ready to go on it. The stupid bar would not close down on me because I was too big. I was too big for the ride. So they basically kicked me off the ride and said, you can't go on this because the bar doesn't close down and latch and lock. So I said, all right, whatever. So I went and sat outside and was kind of miserable. Everybody else went on. They went on it like 2 times in a row. So I said, I vowed. I said, the next time I come here, I will get on that ride. I will do it. So a couple days later, Azar, you weren't with us at the time. I brought a change of clothes. I brought these little gym shorts. I went commando, no underwear. I said, that bar is gonna come down and it's gonna lock in place. And sure enough, I went up there, tested it, thing locked in place. I was good to go.
There was never the mental impulse that maybe I should cut back on butterbeers or desserts.
No. I think I went overboard with the dessert even that night. I said, screw it. It's too late now.
He orders the biggest brownie sundae that you could find at the Chocolate Emporium restaurant, which is probably one of the best restaurants down there. And
I agree.
And he's like, I'll figure it out. If I have to wear a Speedo, I'll get on that ride. And God damn it, he got on that ride.
Well, the bar just comes down and it hits your legs. It's your thighs. And they were just too big. And they just got to be pressed down deep enough. And so, yeah. And the same thing happened to me at SeaWorld on another ride as well. So that tells me, yes, I got to cut back on a few things before my next trip down there so I can get on every ride again.
So our future food reviews will probably have some low-fat, low-calorie options because after Big Meat's, after we do the buffalo wing contest, I think John's going to have to go into training.
That's right. Maybe a salad eating competition with no dressing.
But it was amusing to see him do the walk of shame because he couldn't put the bar down and he had to come off the ride. Everybody was waiting for him. He was holding up the entire ride.
I felt really bad because I was in side by side seat with your son Azar, and when they got me off the ride, they had to take him off the ride. So he missed out on going on it, but he did go on it again, and and was able to ride the ride.
Which was the reason why we got to do back-to-back, because John's misfortune was our benefit. We got to, the reward was for John drinking too many butterbeers before the ride. We got to go on it twice back-to-back while all these other poor people had to wait hours to get on it.
The worst part is when they all got off the ride and they were all saying, "Wow, that was the best ride I've ever been on." It was like legit. They weren't just saying this to rub it in my face. They were like, "Yeah, that was worth it. That was like that. I'll wait another 2 hours to go on that ride."
Yeah, I gotta say though, the fact that it accelerates throughout the whole ride, it's phenomenal.
It was good. I did
and
like
it's long. It's not like one of those quick whip you around and you're done. It actually is worth your time.
Yeah, the acceleration part of it was my favorite part because it goes fast and then it goes into another gear and it goes even faster. Yeah, that was a good rush.
Yeah, of course, now with his weight, we don't know how fast the full potential was, but because I did observe at one point that I noticed sometimes the ride seemed faster with other groups of people in it when I was watching it from the little side where people waited for their kids to get out. Anyways, with that said, let's go review this whiskey. I've never had this Evan Williams honey whiskey, and I've got to say this is far better than the Jim Beam and the Jack Daniels honey whiskey. This has so much better flavor for a whiskey.
Yeah, this is a little bit higher shelf, top shelf whiskey than Jim Beam or Jack Daniels. The regular Evan Williams whiskey is pretty good in its own, but the honey whiskey, it's still sweet. It's very sweet, but at least you could taste like the whiskey flavor.
I don't even see if I can taste it. I feel like it has like a different, I don't know what the note is. There's a different note than just the sweetness. There's some like other flavor. Is it got vanilla? Is it just honey?
No, it's just honey. That's all it is.
Yeah, there's something about it. It has a nice aftertaste. It doesn't, if you like whiskey, it's one thing. You like the flavor of whiskey, but some people find like that it has that burning aftertaste. They don't like it. I've got to say, the Evan Williams does not have that hard aftertaste for people. So if you're worried about it, it's a much smoother sipping whiskey for those that just don't drink a lot of whiskey on a regular basis. This is probably the way to go. Spend a little bit more money. I think you get better value for those if you're not experienced in drinking whiskey. That's my recommendation.
Yeah. I've always loved Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is a good whiskey. I think the honey flavored whiskey is pretty good. I do like Jim Beam a little bit better, and it's a little cheaper. Maybe it's just the Kentucky, because this is a Kentucky bourbon whiskey as well. And Jim Beam is Kentucky, but Jack Daniels is Tennessee. So it's just the different way they produce it. So maybe it's just the difference there between Kentucky and Tennessee. But I tend to like these Kentucky produced whiskeys.
But this one's just smoother. I've had the Jim Beam, and Jim Beam has a couple good flavors. But I gotta say, if I was gonna buy another bottle, I'd probably go with the Evan Williams right now. I think I actually like that. In May, well, after this podcast, I might have to get another bottle anyways if John drinks my bottle on me. But that's another
glass already.
That's for a different discussion for another day. So folks, Evan Williams, if you're doing a holiday dinner because Christmas is coming up soon, grab yourself a bottle of Evan Williams and hunker down for the holidays. All right, let's talk entertainment. Now, there's a lot going on, and we're gonna hold off until we see the Star Wars movie because that's coming out very soon. So I'm still not very excited. There's a lot of hype. I see more promotion for toys. Everything under the sun is being promoted for this movie. And I feel like I think the toys and the entertainment are probably going to be the better value than the movie itself. But before we jump into that, from a Star Wars entertainment perspective, we were getting some requests. What are our thoughts on The Mandalorian now that it's 5 episodes in? And a little bit of a Disney Plus perspective. I've got to say, I don't know how you feel about this, Meat. My kids are loving Disney Plus because it gives them access to a lot of the old Disney shows that they like to watch. I actually have gotten to the point where they watch so much Disney Plus, I actually have made the decision to cut the cord on my DirecTV because no one's watching regular TV anymore. It's always Disney Plus. But as an adult, I'm still disappointed with the content. All I still get is The Mandalorian is the only show that I find myself appointment TV. Like, I know there's like you can watch the Avenger movies and all these other Marvel movies, and that's great, but I've seen all that. I'm looking for new content because there's so much new content out there. I'm kind of shocked that they're not releasing more stuff in the early days to get people hooked on it. So no wonder why they asked you to buy a year's worth of subscription, because month to month, I'd be like, all right, this is great, but for the kids, I don't know if it's worth as an adult. Like,
I think there's very few companies out there that can get away with that, and Disney is one of them. You
Yeah,
know, I don't think they're struggling to get people subscribing. I think a lot of people have subscribed to Disney Plus. I don't know exactly what the number is, but they're not struggling in any way. And a lot of that content's going to come. It is a little weak right now. I agree. The Mandalorian is by far the best thing that's on there. But you know, the Marvel shows that are coming out, that's going to tie into the movies. You kind of have to watch those if you're a Marvel MCU fan in the cinematic universe. And I think they're coming out with like 3 or 4 in the next like year or 2 maybe. So they're going to come out pretty frequently.
why so long though? So we to cut the cord from DirecTV, we actually got the Apple TV box. So now we have all of our stuff on the Apple TV, including Disney Plus, and we're going to have some form of DirecTV streaming service for live TV. That's our entertainment. What I'm fascinated is that some of the content in Apple Plus TV, because it gave us a free year, it's okay. Like the star from the Aquaman movie, he did a show called Sea. It's a slow show. We haven't really got into it, but my wife has Amazon Prime, which now I have access to it because now it's on our Apple TV. There's so much more content on Amazon Prime that I'm almost like would rather be flipping through there for shows. And then Netflix is always releasing new content. So I just don't understand the logic of allowing your competitors to establish themselves. I mean, unless they're just thinking that, well, they already bought it, they're stuck with it, and they'll hang on for the ride. But if I had to make a choice, what I would cut if it came to budget.
Yeah, I think it's a different market though. You know, Disney Plus, I mean, like you said it yourself, your kids are loving it. They're obsessed with it now. They're watching it all the time. I mean, that's really the big market for them. They want the Disney Channel with all the Disney movies and all the shows for the kids to watch it. Now, The Mandalorian's a little bit of an exception. It's more for an older generation, but kids could watch that too. It's not, you know, it's kind of somewhat kid friendly. And I think they're going to start adding more and more to it, but I don't think they're racing to put, you know, a ton of new shows on there. Maybe that'll come in another year or so.
But for marketing, who's streaming? Like, there's definitely an age window who streams, right? You got to say adults that can afford it, they're on their own. 18 to 35 is the true streaming generation? Is more comfortable streaming? Like, how many people
maybe
kids older than us are jumping on streaming bandwagon? They might have Netflix or they might get YouTube TV, but how many are dying if they don't have kids?
Yeah,
or kids are older.
It's definitely a generational thing for sure. But I think with even in our generation, right? I would even say up to like 40, like even early 40s, right? So at that age is where a lot of people who have kids, they're at that between that 5 years and 16-year age that, you know, are still watching Disney programming. But so it is us that we're still streaming, but we're paying it for our kids. We're doing it for our kids.
But the content, if it's slowly releasing, it is a dribble, right? It better be impactful like content, because my kids will eventually outgrow Disney. Like they did it now. We went to Universal completely because they're not into Disney. And eventually, I would say my kids, if they've seen it, am I as an adult going to keep paying for a service that my kids have outgrown? I'm going to make the decision and say, I don't really watch anything on this. Yeah, they might release it once a year or something, but I don't know. To me, I just would think you would want to establish your dominance with really strong content. Like even Apple Plus TV came out with 3 or 4 shows. Why is Disney only releasing one show? Yeah. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, they do have a couple of different shows. It's just nothing that we're interested in. Yeah. Right. They had I did actually watch the Christmas movie there, Noel, with the family. It was it's a nice little Christmas movie. You know what I mean? It's not something I would sit there and watch. Like, you know, we're not going to review the Christmas movie Noel on this podcast.
Not anytime soon.
But it is, if you have kids and you want to watch some new Christmas movie, like what was the one? Was it on Netflix? It was the Santa Claus Chronicles. Yeah. Like that was pretty good. It's very similar to that. It's got that same kind of tone to it. So if you want a different different Christmas movie that you want to watch with your family, that's one.
Am I paying $70 to have a new Christmas movie? Is that what I'm really lacking?
But that's
because you can go to Apple TV and rent
them
off of Apple TV. Like you can go to Amazon Prime and rent A wide selection of Christmas
No,
movies.
no, but how much? I mean, you said it yourself. Your kids have been watching it, so they're getting your money's worth for it. You even cut back on DirecTV because of it.
But like I said, but that window of them entertained to it, they're going to want older content because they're getting older.
But
so,
I think the content will come, you know, for that. I mean,
but it better be compelling, like a Stranger Things, because my kids love Stranger Things. They liked The Haunting of a Hill House. That compelled my older kids to want to watch. So to me, I can't get rid of Netflix because they have some good shows that they put that it really entice. If it's that's my point, is if it's just going to be like this kids friendly content all the time, eventually you're going to see a generation, like there's going to be people like, I'm not a kid, I'm going to go and get more adult type of content. And that was my biggest fear of Disney Plus. And I thought with The Mandalorian was a good start, but I was hoping it would make me want to keep watching. But in the release time's once a week, so it's not like I'm watching Disney Plus every day. They only got me going in to see it once a week. Yeah. And after that, I don't touch Disney Plus all week. So I don't understand the marketing strategy of, if at least if they had a couple shows maybe scattered on different days, I'd be on it more. But I just don't understand, as an adult, you really only want me watching, I'm your consumer, and you only want me watching Friday nights? Like that's the only time.
Well, I mean, it really is a good show. So, I mean, every streaming service has that one, and some have more than a few really good shows, right? Netflix has their Stranger Things. They have a whole bunch of them.
But they have a ton of movies, like Netflix-specific movies that are also on, on their platform.
Exactly.
I think they spent the most for new content than any other.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Netflix. That's really what Netflix is. It's all like shows and movies and programming, and they've been around a long time. Whereas Disney, right? I mean, they got it's new, the Disney Plus.
But this has been in the works for a while. It's not like they said we're going to launch this.
Yeah,
I'm just shocked about the launch.
Why didn't they have a lot more to just?
You would think they would have one Marvel show, one Star Wars show, something to suck you in and say, "Wow, this is worth my investment." Right now, as much as I like, my kids love it, I'm still skeptical. If your kids aren't into big Disney things, is it really worth streaming just for The Mandalorian? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little
probably not right now. I would say maybe I agree with you. I think a lot of people might even be a good idea if you don't have Disney Plus. Just wait until the 8th and final episode of The Mandalorian. Go in there and just binge watch the whole season, and that's it.
Wait day week. It wasn't worth the excitement of the launch. Like, you were waiting, you got there, and you're like, oh. But you're right. I could have waited 8 weeks, downloaded all this show, and all this stuff that my kids are watching. It wasn't like they didn't have access to it. It's now on the Disney platform. It's easy to find, but it was on DirecTV on demand. Like they still had the Disney Channel. They could still pull these shows. I just basically paid for a streaming service, and they love it because it's just real simple. It's right there, and all the seasons are laid out for them, in a much more easier way to access it. Yeah. But I could have probably skipped, buying it.
Well, and I think a lot of the movies as well, they didn't get immediate access to it. They still got to wait for the contract to be up with Netflix. Like, I think the Star Wars Last Jedi movie is still on Netflix. You can't watch it on Disney Plus until, I want to say, I think it was like the end of this year, I think.
And if Disney Plus is smart, they'd leave it on Netflix.
And just leave it on there.
You keep that.
So bad. Yeah. It was so bad. But anyway, I know we started talking more about Disney Plus here, but just to go on The Mandalorian. Yeah. Mandalorian, so far through 5 episodes, and this is still spoiler free, but I think we could probably talk about Baby Yoda at this point, right? I
mean, it's not really Baby Yoda, but everybody calls him.
It's not really Yoda. Yeah. Because there's no like name for him or what type of creature he is, but they call him Baby Yoda. And by the way, you want to talk about the marketing behind just what Disney's able to do? That's a marketer's like dream, right? You got Baby Yoda now with Christmas coming up. It's like merchandise heaven. Oh yeah. I mean, there's going to be so many Baby Yoda dolls and stuff that are going to be sold out there. It's ridiculous. But I'd like to say, it's funny because it's The Mandalorian, but we almost feel like it's a show about Yoda, or not Yoda, but like.
But you're waiting to see what he's going to do. Like, what is the backstory on? But it's only 8 episodes, and 5 episodes in. It seems like at the beginning they were sharing a lot of the backstory. You're getting to understand the characters, and then they decided, like most shows, all right, we're going to go on a little tangents and introduce new characters. But they really stopped introducing a lot of backstory, and I'm kind of like, all right. The 5th episode was my least favorite out of the 5.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
it was okay. People hated the 4th, which I thought was funny because I thought the 4th was retro and brought in old characters, and I really liked it. And I was kind of shocked about hearing some feedback that it wasn't their favorite.
Huh.
And then the 5th, I think the problem with the 5th, it was so short. I think that episode could have went longer. I felt like they didn't give you enough of the backstory behind it. Now, I don't want to be a spoiler because it's still a newer episode.
Sure.
But I didn't understand some of the characters that they introduced and why they didn't spend more time on it. Like, why did the episode have to end? Like why can't they go 45 minutes or kind of end the episode and make it bleed into the 6th episode? So they just kind of just...
It does seem the show is every episode is on its own. That's it doesn't really connect one episode to the next. It does a little bit, but every show has its own like set of characters. Is maybe on a different planet or whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that because it kind of keeps you.
Well, that's what it gives you the
engaged into
TV
what's
show
going
thing.
on.
That's a TV show. Like it's not a binge. And you have to change your thinking because binge streaming, they tie in all the episodes because they want you continuing clicking.
Right.
Where The Mandalorian is an appointment TV. It's Friday night. It drops,
But
you're thinking it's continuing the story. But sometimes it's continuing a story, but it's sharing like a sitcom. Here's another situation.
Yeah. That's exactly how it is. But it does. You can't just jump into watching episode 5 before watching episode 3 or 4. Let's just say. You know what I mean? Like you do have to watch it. And but yeah, the one thing I love about the show is the callbacks to it. It really is tied to the Star Wars universe. And the guy that produced the show, Jon Favreau, or Favreau, or
from Iron Man,
Brett Favre. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name. I'm convinced.
Starred in Friends. He was a character in Friends.
I'm convinced that guy is a genius because like he basically created the first Iron Man movie, right? He kind of kicked off the MCU universe. Now he's finally telling a Star Wars story that has the same tone and everything. Like, is the original trilogy. It's you could say it's the best Star Wars show / programming / content since maybe the Return of the Jedi. I mean, I think it's been that good. Unfortunately, I mean, I kind of wish it was more of a big blockbuster movie that they created, and now he can go a little bit more with maybe a bigger budget, more special effects or whatever. But in terms of like the storytelling, it's not over the top. It's a good story. There's some great characters in it. If Disney wanted to revive the whole Star Wars, like I would just make that guy, Jon Favreau, make him in charge of all Star Wars content moving forward. Let him just be in charge of it. Get rid of like J.J. Abrams. Get rid of that other idiot that made The Last Jedi. Just put that guy in charge and have him make the next Star Wars movies and just revive the whole series.
Well, so my big thing is, right, when you think of, and I agree with you. I can't. It's tough to argue. My spin on it is that I think Jon Favreau is knowing Disney and their power of their budget. If they see how much people love The Mandalorian, I would be shocked if they don't try to tie this into a movie to grab even more money out of this. Like,
no, they've already signed on to season 2.
No, I know. So I see the season, but I can see them spinning into a movie, like just because the dollars they have, they can make that investment. And if they see there's dollar signs in here and marketing opportunity and merchandising opportunity, they will. Because the Mandalorian character itself, people loved Boba Fett as a character as a kid. He was a cool character.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that people won't kill to have that toy as a kid and stuff like that, or a ship and Legos. There's no way this is not going to be a marketing machine. What I like about these stories is that, like what you were saying, they're simple stories and they're not politically correct, where there's not, like in the 4th episode, they introduced a strong female character. Like she was like this she's not a bounty hunter. I forget what her role was. She was a trooper, like a soldier.
Yeah. I think she was part of like the rebellion.
Yeah, but she was like this shock trooper, I think she was called, something like that. But anyways, she was a strong character, but it wasn't over your top. It wasn't forcing that, like, look at this, we have this strong woman character.
Right. Yeah,
it was just built in the story, and you rooted for her. Like, it's like, yeah, good, yeah. I have nothing against that character because it wasn't throwing it in their face like they were trying to make a statement. They just put her in the story, and you could appreciate. Yeah, she was a strong character.
She was like a former UFC fighter, too.
Yeah, and I think she was in the original Deadpool. I think she's that. Isn't she the bodybuilder? That,
yes, I think so. Yes, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think she was in one of the Fast and Furious movies too. But yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't seen her in that, but I did see her in Deadpool, and I was like, oh, that's that big wrestler in that. And again, another strong character. It's a simple story. You like it. You follow. You're not being preached to. You don't know if you want to root for the Mandalorian. You don't know if he's a good guy, bad guy. Like, they kind of keeping you in this. What is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
And then the Baby Yoda thing is just a whole mystery behind this Baby Yoda thing.
Right.
You just want answered. So I like the show, and I agree with you. It's probably the best product that they produced for the Star Wars story. And I would say Rogue One is probably going back to, I think we mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Since Rogue One, I don't think.
You think Rogue One is better than
The Force Awakens and these current. I think but again, the Rogue One is telling a story that we already knew and love, and kind of just built on it. Like, it was like a prequel to what we knew. So I think it was an easy story to tell, and they didn't go over the top with it, which was nice. There were some characters I didn't like in that movie, but it was okay overall. And again, another hero. The woman she was the lead character, was the hero of that movie. It wasn't thrown in your face. It was just, it's like a Princess Leia. She's part of the story. Like, and I don't understand why in The Force Awakens and everything it got so political. I don't understand.
Yeah, especially The Last Jedi. That was. I mean, people will say it basically made every male in that movie weak and stupid.
Yep.
And every female in the movie was like smart and heroic and strong. And
but the same thing that happened in Avengers Endgame. It was like all these like over the top stuff, and it's like, guys, just tell the story. Like, I don't understand. I'm waiting for the new Star Wars to have a global warming message on it. You know, like, one of the planets was ruined due to environmental carelessness. Like, that's next. I'm waiting.
I gotta say, I'm just not excited for that movie at all. I'm not I don't know. I can't get myself to like. I guess I will go see it at the movies at some point, but
because the kids are gonna want to see it. You want to see it in the movie because the sound in the surround sound and the effects, like it's better in the theater. But I'm telling you, that little girl that won Time Person of the Year, Greta whatever Thorne,
right?
She's gonna be in the Star Wars movie. I know it. I'm telling you, she's gonna pop in as a character.
Cameo.
Yeah, she's gonna do a cameo on it because there's got to be some political agenda thing, or there's going to be a MAGA hat by wearing one of the aliens. There's going to be something stupid that you're going to be like, oh, really? Like, he was like, the Emperor's going to come back. Yeah, you hear the voice. He's going to be wearing a MAGA hat.
Take the mask. He's going to take the mask off, and it's great underneath the mask.
He's orange now, and with like his hair bar. So I don't know. But the Mandalorian, for those who are asking, it's definitely worth the time. It's a good story. The only criticism I have is sometimes the episodes are too short, and I think I wish they could have gone at least 45 minutes with each episode. Sometimes they cut off at 30, 35 minutes, and you're like, oh, man, that episode could have went a little bit more. Like, I wanted more out of that episode, but hey, that's just some feedback. All right. The Irishman. Let's move into a totally different genre. Yeah. The Irishman, a lot of hype. Martin Scorsese directed it and produced it, I believe, right? He's director and producer of the thing. I guess it was a long project that he was working on for many years. Yeah. He brought back some of his favorite actors like Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, and Al Pacino was in it. Yep. A lot of hype. The interesting thing that I keep hearing, now I have not watched it because of the reviews I've gotten, the time commitment. Can you sit through 3.5 hours through the movie? And I heard it's worth it at the end. Like, the movie is a good movie, but it was a little bit of a process getting through the first hour. Yeah. And Big Meat saw it, so he can give you the real world. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, spoiler free here, but it's 3.5 hours long. I remember I watched it last week, and it was kind of late into the night. I want to say it was like 10:30 at night. And I said, well, I'll watch a little bit of it. And I've kind of read the same reviews that you read, and people said it was just too long and it just dragged out. And I said, well, I don't think I'm going to get through the 3.5 hours tonight. Maybe I'll go through halfway and then watch the other half. Stayed up till 2 a.m. watching it. Wow, I actually did sit and actually watch the whole thing.
By yourself?
By myself, yeah.
Okay.
I did. I was the only one watching it. But I didn't feel, I'm getting tired. It did keep me engaged throughout the whole thing because there wasn't a lot of action in it, but there was something that happens every so often that it does kind of keep you engaged, and you're waiting to see what ends up.
That's what I heard. That's the only reason it kept you engaged. It was because there was always like wasn't a lot of dead time. Like there was dead time. Right. Then they had like an action scene and got you.
There was something. Yeah. Something was happening, and it was a story that was brought out between, I think, like throughout like the 50s and 60s, and even like I think maybe even to the 70s, and then into present time as well. So it was like a story told over a course of like decades. You know what I mean? So they're able to kind of pick and choose. I love mob movies, and this was a movie that I had to watch because, I mean, De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci. That's it. You get those three guys all in the same movie. I don't think they've ever been in a movie, all three of them together.
That's what I was thinking, the same thing. I don't recall all three of them ever, like especially Al Pacino. I don't remember him being in a movie with all those guys.
Yeah. And Pesci hasn't been in a movie in forever.
Was Heat?
Yeah, he was in Heat with De Niro, but not Pesci wasn't.
That's what I was saying. Pesci was not in Heat.
Yeah, so like they've all played together in a lot of movies together, but never all three of them at once. And Pesci, I love Joe Pesci. My Cousin Vinny is still one of my favorite movies, and he was so good in Goodfellas, and the fact that he hasn't been in anything in so long, like I just wanted to see him back in a movie again.
I heard he did really well. I heard he was the star of the...
Joe Pesci was really good, but I gotta say, he wasn't like the same kind of Joe Pesci character that you're used to.
No, he
like
wasn't his typical typecast. Like
not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mob movie, right? I mean, he's a mobster, but he wasn't the same kind of fiery type actor. Neither really was De Niro. I would say the one guy that was Al Pacino. He was a little bit. He kind of gave his Al Pacino kind of like, yelling a lot and kind of one of those things. But yeah, overall, I think the story was good. The ending did drag out. There were moments there where it's like, geez, I mean, you could just chop up and edit this scene. So you cut out a half hour. Keep this under 3 hours. You didn't have to go 3.5 hours. But overall, you have to watch it. If you like mob movies and you like those actors, you definitely have to sit and watch.
And that's the knock on the movie. You'll watch it once, but it's not a movie you're probably going to be stopping.
No.
Like it's not like Goodfellas. If it's on, you might stop and watch it till the end of the movie.
Yeah, probably not. There were a few scenes that were like, oh, that was an intense scene. I really loved that.
But that's what
scene.
I heard. Like there's scenes that you might watch, but you're not sticking to the whole movie.
No. Goodfellas is my all-time favorite mob movie of all time. Yeah. But so it's like to compare it to that, it's like, but it's a good mob movie. It's not the best. If you don't know a lot about like Jimmy Hoffa, his character, and like, because this movie was based on De Niro's character Frank Sheeran, who was he was a hitman, and it was like his side of the story. So it's based on a true story, but it's not based on it's not based on facts. There's
a little embellishment.
Yeah, and there wasn't stuff that happened in the movie based on records and accounts from whatever. It wasn't like, it was basically Frank's admission before he died that said, okay, this is what happened. But people still don't believe him because he changed his story so many times. Yeah. So it's you just got to watch the movie and not get so caught up in saying like, hey, wait a minute, they never proved that. How come that happened like that? You just got to go with it.
Yeah, and it's a movie that I want to watch, but I know I'm going to be watching it during the Christmas break. Like when I'm off from work for a week and I have nothing to do, because I've been catching up on some shows and there's so much content. I'm overwhelmed. I'm actually overwhelmed. Like my wife is, she's on, what's that show? I'm going to draw a blank. She's watching this great show that she said you have to watch. It's on Amazon Prime. But there's like Ray Donovan. There's all these shows that she's watching. There's so much content. I can't even keep up. Like we've kind of parted ways with some of our shows. Like I started following some shows and because there's only so much time during the day you can follow some shows. It's a Tom Clancy show that she's watching. I forget which one's on.
Is that Jack Ryan?
Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So she speaks like raving reviews over that show. Said you would love that show. And I'm like, where am I going to fit in time? And now I started that series from Apple Plus, that C movie with the guy from Aquaman and Justice League, which, like I said, it's an okay, but I'm like, damn, I'm 2 episodes in. Do I really want to finish these episodes?
You're going to get sucked in.
Yeah, well, I'm 2 episodes in, and it's like 8 episodes. I'm like, all right, I got to finish that, even though I'm not really like sucked into it. So you really, with all this content, what a great time. If you like entertainment, I hate TV. I found TV redundant. A lot of like same crap. There is so much great content on TV right now.
But I just think like there's so many different. Like I touched on this earlier. There's a great show or two or more than two on every streaming service. Now you're paying $10 a month here, $10 a month there. Before you know it, you're paying $100 a month.
Yeah.
And you got Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus and whatever. There's YouTube Red or whatever they call it now. I mean, there's something on every single streaming service.
That's the frustrating thing is that you're getting sucked in. And I think like we have Showtime streaming because it came with Amazon Prime. You get it for like a reduced rate, right? And my wife's like, I only like one show. I'm like, really gonna pay for one show for like this much a month? Like, is it? But it's tough because if you love the show, you're sucked in. So all these channels have like something that you could honestly go. You can go. It'll be like just paying for cable all over again. Yeah. And it's like the same problem with cable. There's just so much content. I can't get through all this. Like, but at least it's commercial free. You can stop it whenever you want, and you can go right back in.
Yeah,
it
is pretty legit.
Our kids are spoiled. Like they don't understand.
I do have the WWE Network as well. I got to throw that one in. Oh, geez,
yeah.
That's like $10.
And that's not even including all the sports. Like I'm a sports person, so I'm not really watching this. So the football season, all this content, I most likely won't catch up with all of it until after the football season because I'm more. Like, if I'm going to sit for 4 or 5 hours in front of the TV, it's usually in front of a football game. Yeah. Maybe a little bit in the Celtics at best, but never for, like, a TV. Like, it's just crazy. So, The Irishman, definitely something worth watching once. And
one more, and another thing on The Irishman, too, and why it costs a lot of money. I heard it cost, $140 million to make or something. I mean, it's crazy to think that much money for a Netflix movie. But the reason why it costs so much is because of the CGI work that they did on the faces of these actors. Right?
Which I heard wasn't good.
They were so. This is what I want to say. So sometimes it was like, wow, like they did it for every single scene that these guys are in. That's a ton.
Yeah.
Like remember, like you'd watch it on like other movies and you'd see like. I'm trying to think. Marvel has done this a lot too when they have like flashbacks and they make the guy look younger and it's like a 5-minute scene.
Or Endgame when they make Captain America look like he's 80 years old. And
yeah. But I think that was more like makeup, and I don't know if that was that
still
CGI.
Sucked. I don't care. Anyway, it still sucked.
But it was like, this Irishman, they did it for the whole movie, and there were some parts where like, oh, that looked pretty good, and then there were some parts where like you could tell like the lips like looked fake, like it just really looked. It didn't really look that great. There was one scene in particular where De Niro's character like pulls a guy out of like a deli shop and like beats him up, and he's like kicking him while he's on the ground, and it looked so fake. It looked so like a cartoon. Like his leg was swinging back and forth like he was kicking him, and I don't know if they did that on purpose to make it look bad. It was one of those things where it's like it looked so bad it was good. You know what I mean? And I don't know if they did that purposely. It was awful. Like when you watch it, you'll know exactly what scene I'm referring to. But that's the
feedback I've been hearing. It was like, why didn't Martin Scorsese, like I know he likes to work with these guys, but why not get younger guys to play during them that age? Like, and then get like lookalikes, as much actors as you can get that look like them. Any guy could play that role, and then age them within reason. But why try to make 80-year-old guys or guys in their 70s look 30, 40 years younger?
Maybe he wanted to be involved in the whole CGI work, and I don't know.
It's a certain level of arrogance. I think I can make it work. I am Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Well, he's notorious for overspending on budgets. Like every movie he's ever made, he's blown the budget out of the water. And like if he says he's gonna spend $100 million, he'll spend $150 million. If he says he's gonna take 6 months to make this movie, he'll take a year to make the movie. There is certainly a level of arrogance with him.
Let me ask, if it was not him directing, it was just a movie with just average actors, just put any average actor in there, right? Like Keanu Reeves or Nicolas Cage. Yeah. Like really like
the best actors there. That's a good two really good choices you picked there, Azar.
Just if they were names that you were like, oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Wahlberg in this movie, right?
The Departed.
Like
he did that already.
But would you be that excited in it?
Well, The Departed. I mean, in that case, like, yeah, Departed was good. I like the Departed movie.
There you go. Then it's worth watching. I'm just curious because is it more the names that you were excited to see, or is it more was it the content of the movie?
All right,
like, was the story excited? Like, were you excited about the story, or were you like, no, I got to see these guys act?
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, so it was Scorsese still directing it? But they were just unknown
No, even
actors?
if it wasn't him. Like, the story that was written.
It was different actors, different person directing.
Like, someone made this movie. Is the storyline worth seeing?
You know, honestly, that's a good question. I don't know. I probably would have watched it anyway because it's a mob movie. And it's not just some made-up story. It was based on true events. And so, I guess I probably would have watched it. I don't know if I would have been as excited to watch it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There was a lot of hype, I think, because of who directed it. And everybody's loves, and I gotta say, because I know we're going long on time, I come to the conclusion. I watched Scarface again on TV. It, like, for some reason, keeps playing on Stars, and I keep getting sucked in watching Scarface. Al Pacino I think, is a better actor than Robert De Niro. I don't know, something about him. Al Pacino is just such a great actor. And you get sucked into his character. You want to hate him in some of his movies, but you end up rooting for the guy. It's the most bizarre character.
I used to like Robert De Niro better than Al Pacino. I used to thought Pacino kind of overacted in a lot of his scenes. Like, he always like yelling or whatever. But now, I don't know. I think I'm changing that now. I think Pacino may be a little bit better than De Niro, especially in the last 10 years anyway. And especially in The Irishman, I thought Pacino was better than De Niro.
I always thought De Niro, when you think back of what he does, he's always the same role. It's not very
It's not very different.
Casino role is the same as the Goodfella role. He was like the character himself was the calm, rational guy in Goodfellas, even though he went off the hinge here and there. But Casino was the same way. Like, you think of the movies, and I'm like,
he was the same in The Irishman too.
Same guy. Like, it's always, that's what I heard. Like, he's like, I'm like, oh, there's no range. Where when you watch Pacino, he plays like in Carlito's Way.
Yeah,
I know they're
Carlito's
different.
Way was awesome.
Like, they're different gangsters. Like, he's always a gangster, but there's something about the characters are different. Scarface is totally different from Carlito's Way, the gangster in Carlito's Way.
Oh yeah,
Totally different. Like, when you watch it, then you watch The Devil's Advocate with him, and he's a totally different character. Like, he's just
that is true, because Al Pacino, right, in all of his. In a lot of his movies, but just specifically for mob movies, right? Scarface, he played a Cuban.
Yep.
In Carlito's Way, he played an Italian. The Irishman, he played an Irish guy.
Yeah.
We don't have to. I don't know if we have a lot of time to go through it now, but maybe we do another dedicated podcast on all the different mob movies that are out there. And I just have like a list of 15. I'll just shoot them all off now of my 15 probably favorite mob movies.
All right, so we're 40 minutes in.
We're not going to go through it. Okay. I just want to list them all out, just all in one fell swoop here. Goodfellas, Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, Casino, Departed, Carlito's Way, Pulp Fiction. I don't know if that's really considered a mob movie or not. Scarface, Heat. Is that a mob movie? Somewhat.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs, Untouchables, Donnie Brasco, Black Mask, which was like A Bronx Tale, which I wasn't a big fan of. And the last one here is Blow. Have you ever seen Blow?
I have
with
seen
Johnny
it.
Depp.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a mob movie either. That's more of a drug, cartel kind of. I don't know.
That's you're kind of blurring like traditional mobster movies versus like drug cartel gang type of, and like even Carlito's Way, he was a drug. Even Scarface, he was a drug dealing gangster.
Yeah, that wasn't really like the mob. Yeah. So, but it's kind of like. They're on the same.
Say the gang, like.
And then I got to throw an honorable mention. It wasn't a movie, but The Sopranos. Like, you got to like kind of throw them in there as well, just because it was a successful TV series on HBO. So all those movies,
with
maybe I'm
shitty
missing.
Ending. Like, HBO knows how to really screw you with their endings.
Yeah. There was. I mean, I forget how many seasons of Sopranos. There were like 7 or 8 seasons. But every season had like 2 or 3, I would say like 3 decent episodes with 1 or 2 really good episodes. They could have cut all that stuff out of there and just made it into, a 5-episode series or something. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have to. But anyway, yeah, so you got to throw that. But I digress. Yes. But if I'm missing any other good mob movies there, I think I've kind of touched on all of them. But It's funny, Pacino, Pesci, and De Niro played in like most of those.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's why with the Irishman, the three of them are in it to the same movie. You gotta give it a shot and watch it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious to see Joe Pesci because he plays a different role, and because Casino and Goodfellas, he's almost like the same guy. So I'm kind of curious to see how Joe Pesci is with this new movie. But anyways, so we got to move to fantasy because this is we're doing a long podcast because the holidays are coming up, so we're trying to give a lot of content. So be patient. Again, for those that say, "Wow, these are long," you can stop it and you can play it another time. So don't get all upset. It's not going to hurt our feelings.
We know who you are out there, you complainers.
So we're going to go to fantasy. For the sake of time, we'll start with one topic, and if it doesn't go too long, we'll go get the second one in. But we're now in the semifinals of the playoffs. And it was interesting because last week I watched someone have a player that was drafted extremely high in his season. Actually, two people who drafted players pretty high. And because of these two players' poor performance, it basically cost them an opportunity to advance in the playoffs. And some people that had poor players, they got lucky and were able to advance. But I was looking at it like it could have gone any other way. They didn't win because of their high draft picks. And it got me thinking, there are more busts this season than I really gave credit to. And so this year, I've got to say, for where he was drafted, I've got to say Saquon Barkley has to be the biggest bust of 2019 based on every magazine saying he was the number one pick overall. And what he gave you this season, I can't think of how many weeks he won it. Any week, I can't even think of a week that he won someone like a week that week. Like everybody has a good player that wins you a week. That's why you invest like in a high number one pick. He can win you a week. Can you think of a week that you said, "Wow, Saquon Barkley went off and he carried that team"?
I think the first couple of weeks, he had some big first couple of weeks. And in all fairness, though, Barkley started off the year great. The first 2 weeks, he had two big games, and then I think it was the third game or maybe the fourth game, he got injured. Was it his ankle? His knee? I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Injury,
It was a leg injury, yeah.
He was out for, a few games, and he hasn't been the same ever since. So I don't know if it's fair to say that Barkley. Now, having said that, I wasn't very high.
Now, your week one, he scored 14 points.
He had 100 yards and
14 points. John.
He didn't score a touchdown?
14 points. Even if he had a touchdown, 14 points is going off for your number one pick. His highest points all season as a running back was in week 2, and he scored 19 points.
Yeah, no doubt he was a bust. There's no doubt. But
I'm sorry. He had a week against Detroit. He scored 20.3. That was his biggest week. And the rest have been zeros from the injury, and then 10 points, 3 points, 6 points. For a number one pick.
Yeah.
And he came back from his injury week 7. He was back at week 7, John. It wasn't like he was gone. He was gone from week 4, 5, and 6, back week 7, put up 14 points, gave you hope, put up 20 points the following week against Detroit, and after week 8, 9 points, 3 points. He had a bye week, 6 points, 11 points, 6 points, and he still has 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, so that first game, you're right. They lost 35-17. I don't know, maybe he only had 11 carries, but he had 120 yards.
Yeah, but he
had a 59-yard rush and he didn't score a touchdown in that game. So yeah, he did score 14 points, which it's good, but not great. The next week, right, he had the 20 points there, and then he got injured in week 3.
Yeah, but then he's back week 7.
Yeah, and he hasn't really been the same ever since.
For what you invested?
I would. Well, he was the guy, and I might even said it right on this podcast in one of the first ones. And I think you agreed with me, is that or maybe it was Mr. Roper.
No, I agree with you because I was not a fan of Barkley.
Yeah, okay, it was you. Okay.
But the hype from the experts was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's difficult for someone to say, "Oh, I won't take Barkley," because all the hype made you believe. Some of us just didn't buy into the hype. There was some lingering issues with that line, with the Eli Manning.
Yeah. I had him last year, and I loved him, and he was really good for me. But I knew going into this year, we didn't know. Eli Manning started the season. We didn't know if I thought he was just He was done. I hated Eli Manning for like the last few years. I think he's just been totally bad.
Yeah, it's awful.
And then we didn't know, okay, Daniel Jones was going to come in. We didn't know how he was going to do. Their offensive line was bad. They had no receivers. Before you know it, I'm like, okay, he's gonna hit that sophomore slump. Barkley is, and he's going to struggle. And I didn't think he was worthy of a number 1 overall pick. Now at the time, right, you kind of have to take him. He's the guy that's there to take.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have taken Ezekiel Elliott if I knew for sure that he wasn't going to hold out, and that's why he slid down to number 5. But I wouldn't say Barkley is the biggest bust out of all the first rounders. You got to give that to David Johnson. He went 4th overall in our league, but he essentially hasn't been injured. He's played. He started off the season.
He did get injured. He was out for a little bit. A couple of weeks he was injured.
Was he?
Yeah, there was a week. He had like a leg injury or something. He was out for injury. He didn't stop playing because of playing time. It was an injury, and I'd have to pull him up.
But they haven't, like, it's not like he's been injured the last like 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, no, he's been back for a while. No,
not only has it been bad, they haven't been playing him.
So weeks 8 and 9, he was out injured. And then they brought him back. Remember they did like a soft. He came in for a couple plays, and then he was out. So weeks 7 through 11, he was out due to injury. And then they had the bye week, and then he started coming back. So, but you look at his stats. See, this is where you're a little bit off, right? Look at his stats. Week 1, not 20 points. Week 2, against Baltimore, a good defense, 8 points. Week 3, 12 points. Week 4, 14 points. Week 5, 15 points. Week 6, 22 points. Then he gets injured week 7, and he never came. If you're going to make the case for Barkley not recovering from the injury, it's not fair to judge him because of injury. Mm-hmm. You got to make the same case of David Johnson. Now, the problem for him is he came back, and it looks like the offense wanted to move on from him.
Oh, they've completely moved on.
So, and that makes no sense. Like, that was a weird one. Like why all of a sudden, like, there must be something they're seeing that he is not the same from that injury. But if you look at his numbers in the beginning, he was a little bit more consistent than Barkley in the beginning. But Barkley got hurt earlier. But, I mean, I would say David Johnson put up a little bit more consistent numbers in the beginning.
I think Barkley, the mix of Barkley's injury and also Daniel Jones coming in there. Because it seemed like Eli Manning, as much as I hate him, at least he knew how to dump the ball off to Barkley and let him do his thing. Like Daniel Jones, maybe it's just a downfield passer. Like he didn't know how to use Barkley as much, because it seems like ever since Daniel Jones has been in there, that's where Barkley's numbers have really been the worst.
The coach sucks. I mean, if you watched the game last week, the guy did a flea flicker with Saquon Barkley. Instead of, like, Barkley is your best player on the damn field. You wanted to give the ball back to Eli Manning to throw it. Give him the ball and let him run the damn ball. Like, it's shame. Like, that was the same thing with David Johnson. Sometimes it's like some coaches don't even know, like, this is your best player. Just hand him the damn ball. What are you doing this cute shit? Like, it makes no sense. Like, the only one that can make players out of something is Belichick. Unless you're Belichick, I don't want to see you. If he's your star, let him be the star.
Don't get cute.
Don't get cute. He's the only one that can put in Brandon Bolden. He can Cordell Patterson in the backfield and make shit happen, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else, put the ball in the best player's hands. Stop being cute. Because sometimes it's mind-blowing. But I'm going to make the case for Barkley. You can make the case for David Johnson. I would even say Ezekiel Elliott. If you look at his numbers, if you look week to week.
Yeah, but he's been okay. Like, he hasn't been great. Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't.
If he was your number 2
he's been a bust as well.
If you took him as number 2, would you be happy with what you were getting out of
him? No, not at all. So I agree. He's a bust as well. But I wouldn't say he's a bigger bust than any of those two guys. He's not a bigger bust than David Johnson or Saquon Barkley. And even Alvin Kamara, who with his 3 touchdowns, I mean, he's been a bust. Although he's been okay as well, just like Ezekiel Elliott.
They're not top 5. They're not playing like top 5 backs, which is interesting.
No.
The backs that were drafted in the second round are playing like Dalvin Cook is playing like a top 5 back. Nick Chubb, who was drafted, I think, 6, is playing like a top 5 back.
Yeah, there's only 2 backs in the first round that are really justified in their first round pick. It's McCaffrey and Nick Chubb. That's it. Yeah. Those 2. I mean, even the receivers, right? You want to throw the receivers in there? Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Odell Beckham. They haven't done all that much. I mean, Adams got hurt, I understand, but they just haven't lived up to the hype. Now you get into the second and third round, you have guys like Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, and even Leonard Fournette.
Is having a better year than most of these guys.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. The second round here, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, somewhat.
Todd Gurley's having an average year, but he's playing like a number 2 back, which is he is what he is. Like that's what you expect with a guy that's got a bad knee. Like
Yep. Michael
Carson,
Thomas.
Which I'm surprised. I was looking at Carson's numbers, and I know I have him. Yeah, I know. But I was actually kind of disappointed. I thought he's not scoring a lot of touchdowns. He's got decent yards, but he wasn't putting up the touchdowns like I thought he was. Like based on all this hype that people are like, oh, he's having such a monster year. But I don't really find enjoy. We're definitely the holiday music in the background.
Don't mind the Charlie Brown music in the background.
Yes, we're not in Roper Studios. We're actually in more of a Christmas themed studio right now, and yes, right. We've been podcasting for an hour now. So yes, so it's just kind of our little alarm clock to tell us to wrap things up soon.
Speaking of Mr. Roper, he's in the playoffs. Yeah, you're playing against them this week.
I'm playing against him. I hate him.
And this is a huge matchup for you. Yeah, for you both. I mean, I don't really know who to root for at this point.
Oh, you know who. Know who.
I think it's pretty clear.
No one wants Mr. Roper to win.
Exactly. I can't.
And he even admitted that he's going to get thrown out of the league after he wins because he's going to be such an unbearable ass if he wins.
You know that smile that like the real Mr. Roper gives at Three's Company? Like that's going to be permanent on this Mr. Roper's face. Yeah. And I don't know if I can handle it.
You know, it's funny. When I think of Mr. Roper, his character, I've actually watched some of it on TV. Yes, the Logo channel. And I'm going to miss that because when I go streaming, I'm going to lose my channel. But he's cheap. He's cheap. He's thrifty. Like there's a lot of qualities, Mr. Roper. He's got that smile.
It is true.
And I'm like, shit. It's not just because we're using his space. He really is a Mr. Roper character in our life. So I'm dreading this week, and I talked to him today. I said this is the last time we'll talk before the weekend. Is that no one gives me more heartburn before I play him than him. Like the thought of losing to him just irritates me. It's like you couldn't believe. So I have been stressing over all of my selection of players. I'm second guessing everyone. Like who is going to let me down and fail me this week? But he's unbearable. But going back to the biggest bust, I got to say, because I selected Barkley as the number 1, it's fascinating how one of the members of our league, we'll call him Steven, a.k.a. Steven. We're not going to hide his name. How we can draft a number 1 pick year after year, and they always suck. And this time I give him the benefit. It's like it's not his fault, but every time he drafts somebody, he has the Madden curse. So it's almost good that he made the playoffs this year, so he won't get a number 1 pick. And he won't destroy someone's career.
He'll most likely get the number 5 pick because that's just.
But he had David Johnson the year after he had a monster breakout. He drafts him, I think, number 1. Yeah. And he breaks his hand. Yeah. And he has Barkley, who is a rookie going into his second year, all this hype, and he has another bust. I mean, how many years in a row can you have a number 1 pick and your guy that you pick is not the right guy? Like
he also drafted Dalvin Cook at the end of the second round,
which was his best pick.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce, who right now is the number 1 tight end in the league. But
that's why he was in the playoffs. It wasn't because of his Barkley pick. I mean, it really was. Dalvin Cook saved his butt in the beginning of the season. I mean, Dalvin Cook kind of slowed down a little bit in the second half, but that first half, he made me regret taking Gurley before Dalvin Cook.
It was my Jackass nomination of Philip Lindsay for him taking Philip Lindsay in the 4th round was his downfall.
But Philip Lindsay actually played better for him. So you're a little harsh on that one, but it's so unfortunate. And then an honorable mention who has officially hit Brett Favre status is Aaron Rodgers. He's no longer. He can't be considered a top 5 quarterback anymore. No way.
No. This is like the last 3 years. He hasn't been the same. Like he just doesn't put up the numbers, especially from at least from a fantasy standpoint, right? He's just not. I mean, the guy's 36 years old. I mean, you'd think he would still be putting up big numbers. He still has good weapons around him.
Drew Brees is still a machine putting up huge numbers. Yeah. Like Drew Brees can win that team a week, like more consistently than what Rodgers is putting out. And I can't understand what the hell's going for a guy that last year was everybody was trying to tell us when he was facing Brady, Rodgers is the better quarterback right now.
Yeah, no way.
And I got to argue, I don't think he is, for Brady being that much older than him, he's not playing that much better than Brady, if at all. Like,
No.
and Brady's having a bad year to his standard. And give him a break. The guy's in his freaking 40s. He's got nothing
around him, and Rodgers still has talent around him. He's still got Adams. He's got Aaron Jones, who's having his best year.
Has Rodgers hit overrated?
Oh, he's very overrated at this point.
But was he overrated the whole time?
Oh, I don't know.
One Super Bowl? Like, what did he like?
Yeah. No, his one Super Bowl.
Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls. The rings don't count.
No, he should have won more. He should have won more, and he didn't. And he'll go down as kind of like a Peyton Manning type guy, like a lot of talent. Great.
Peyton Manning won a couple times.
Yeah, the second time really wasn't even.
But he
him.
holds records.
So does Rodgers. Rodgers owns records.
What records does he own?
I think he's got the highest QBR of all time. He's got.
He doesn't have like the significant ones, like number of passing touchdowns.
No, he hasn't played. He hasn't played long enough to do that.
I don't think he's going to last that much
longer.
Not.
He actually even said, I think was it last week? He said he is approaching like the 18th hole of his career.
Yeah,
that's a scary saying.
And he's playing like it.
Say that, like, I mean, that tells you he's not feeling good. He's gonna pull an Andrew Luck and retire after this season. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. You heard it here first, guys, on the Azar and the Meat podcast. Wow, I'm calling it. Aaron Rodgers is retiring after this season.
What if Brady and Rodgers retire in the same year, and you're gonna lose Eli Manning? So some of the bigger names are gonna be. And Luck is already gone. Yeah. So
Brady's not going anywhere.
Phillip Rivers has to be on his last legs.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers is at least a year or 2 away.
It's amazing.
Or at the most a year or 2 away. No, Brady's not going anywhere after this year. I think he's good. It might be his last year with the Patriots, but it's not his last year playing.
I think Belichick would be. You know what? The only thing saving Brady would be Kraft, but I think Belichick can't be looking at this performance and some of those throws and saying, like, he's still got it. He's and it's kind of misleading because Brady always said, if I see that I'm not playing as well, it's time to call it. Yeah. So hopefully he has enough, which again most athletes don't, has it in him to say, I'm not the same. It's time to retire.
Yeah.
But he won't, because Montana didn't do it, Favre didn't do it. Everybody goes to another team to say, no, I can do it somewhere else. And then it's ugly seeing them in another jersey, and it's inevitable that the Patriots.
He might end up in Chicago. I think that's the team. If Brady does leave and signs with another team, he might be with the Bears. Good defense. Cold weather team, right? He'll know he could throw in that environment. I don't know. I just think like Chicago's like Trubisky stinks. I think that whole experiment is over. They don't have any backup plans there. I think.
What happens? The rumor that. With what's his name, Josh McDaniels. Like, there's this whole rumor that maybe Jerry Jones wants Josh McDaniels. Now I know they want to get rid of Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott's in a contract year. I don't know if he signed yet. What if Josh McDaniels says me and Brady will come down?
True. It could be Dallas. You're right.
Can you imagine?
That's another option there. Yeah. Yeah, I think this year more than any other year, I don't feel as confident that Brady's going to stay with the Patriots.
No, because some of the things that he's making, like selling his homes, pulling away from best buddies, he's kind of cutting ties from certain things. Yeah. I would not, and Jerry Jones would throw a mountain of money at Josh McDaniels and say, look, Dak Prescott, you really want to pay this money? We can bring Brady at a fraction of the cost. He's still got it. Bring him here, and we can find a better alternative than Dak Prescott. Because Dak Prescott's always been okay. He's never been like lights out.
Yeah, he can't win the big games. It doesn't seem.
No, because he's like Tony Romo 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? He's the African American version of Tony Romo. Mm-hmm. Puts up all these yards and numbers, and then when the games count, you're like, well, that sucked. Like you way to turn over the ball or do something stupid. So it's that would be interesting because I could see it. But if Josh McDaniel wants a payday, Jerry Jones will give it to him. But we'll see. There's a lot. So we're over an hour now. Do you want to attack that last topic?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Somebody, if you guys are tired, put it on pause, go to the bathroom, get yourself a drink.
We'll do this one quick. So I heard this debate, and it got me thinking, because we're amidst the finals right now, and I never thought about it in a real sincere way. But if you're out of the playoffs, should you still be making waiver moves? Should it be blocked out? Because the argument that I heard is it really fair that when you get down to the Final Four and say you're a team that's a top seed, your bench is stacked, and you don't really need to make moves. Now the person you're playing, the opponent, has free reign on all this talent because no one else is drafting or picking them up. So there's just like this unfettered access to the waiver wire in players. Yeah. Where is that really? If it kept its competitive nature, you would have opportunity to block some of that free access. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Seems like a jerk thing to do.
Yeah.
But if the concept was the guys were arguing, well, why do I care if this person wins? I don't want anybody to win. If I'm not winning it, why should I make it easier for that other guy to win it? I should make it harder. So it's like, so theoretically, if Roper is in the finals and he needs, let's just say, a running back, and there's this like Kamara goes down and Latavius Murray, I know the situation, he already has them, but say he wants to pick up Latavius Murray and you're like, no, I'll take him. And you block him from having him in the finals. You basically sabotage that team, even though you have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
So, okay. So, and we can only talk for like our league because every league is different, right? There's consolation prizes. There's all like sorts of things like where you're just going to the end. In our league, it is a little bit, nobody wants to finish in last place.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going down to the last game of the season, I'm mathematically eliminated. Yeah, I'm going to put in a waiver claim for somebody because I don't want to lose and be in last place.
But we don't put any financial consequence to it.
It doesn't matter. It's not. It's
but
not
we should, though.
It's not. Well, it's not really about the well, for me, it's not. Maybe we should, but I don't think for me it's the financial
it's the pride,
burden.
We have an award.
Exactly. Yeah, there's an ego there.
But most of us don't, and that's what it got me thinking because that's what their premise was. There should be incentives to keep people engaged throughout the playoffs. But we don't do it. We just say don't be in last place.
How about like a $25 penalty for coming in last place or something?
Yeah.
Like you gotta pay up an extra $25, and that $25 goes to the winner.
Or the last place has no access to the number one pick. You don't get the number one pick.
Oh, that's
because you don't want people sandbagging it for the number one pick.
Yeah.
But in our league, we're unique. If you're listening, is that if you don't make the playoffs, we give you that 4th spot gets the top 4 picks.
Okay.
And they're in that lottery.
And now it's just the 3 players would get the chance for the
so they get a better chance of getting a better pick, and it gives you the incentive to make sure you don't sandbag it at the end. Like you got to pay attention all the way to the end because you don't want to be the guy in last place. And
but what about the guy that's in 7th place? That whether he wins or loses, it doesn't factor in. He already missed the playoffs. He's not going to come in last place. That guy could pretty much just give it up.
No, because he goes into the brackets. He can come in. They go into brackets all the way through the end. They're bracketed. There is a constellation. If you look at the...
Oh, are you saying like in the playoffs, like if you finish
There's
last?
A loser bracket.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, all right. So in that case,
the ranking comes down right to the end.
We should do that.
Like where you finish.
We should do that because then there's no like, oh, it's not fair. Like, why are you picking up players off the waiver? Like you're eliminated. No, I think you just. I've always been the type like I don't care. I even in real sports, right? In the NFL, you see a team and it looks like they're running up the score. I say, good, run up the score. Like try and stop them. I don't care.
Yeah.
Actually, this actually happened to me in my son's flag football game a few weeks ago, or about a month and a half ago, and we're in the playoffs. And we won, and there was like less than a minute left, and I kept giving the ball to the kids. Right, they're 7 and 8 year olds. Right, they're running up they're not running up the score, but they're running the plays. And I kind of got a little comment from the other coach off of the sidelines, like, "Well, what are you doing? Like, what are you satisfied now? You keep giving your kids the ball to score another." I said, "Look, like we're in the playoffs. Next week is another playoff game. Like, I want to give the kids some more practice time. This like everybody's paid their money. They want to play. Like I'm not trying to run up the score to rub it in your face. I just want the kids to play. So I just feel I've never been.
That's just a sore loser coach. That's just being a sore loser.
I think he was just just mad that he was losing. But it wasn't like that. Wasn't me trying to be a dick. It was
if you kept your starters and your best players trying to score, it's one thing. But if you're giving everybody a chance,
and in fact, it's a good point. I gave the kid a ball who didn't touch the ball the whole game.
Yeah.
The second kid I gave the ball to, he had a family of like 20 people. Like that came to go see him. Like I wanted to give him the ball and hopefully he does something great.
And that's what you should be doing at that age. Yeah. The other coaches, like it's like, dude, grow up.
Well, he didn't know. Like, right? He doesn't know who I'm giving the ball to, right?
But you're there for the kids. It's not about the score. All these kids want to touch the ball. There's no way he didn't notice that this kid that doesn't look that athletic is all of a sudden holding the ball. Is like because I was there when my son played. You know who are the good kids?
Yeah.
And you know who are the kids that never really touch the ball? They're just running around. They're just happy to be out there.
Right.
But when they catch the ball, it's a huge moment for these kids. That's
Yeah.
what it's about. Who cares if it's...
Yeah. So I've never been like, even in that scenario, I've never been big on it. So same thing in fantasy football. I play it to the end. Like pick up players, do whatever you can. I mean, I'm not gonna go completely over the board and start dropping like my best players just other people could pick them up, and it's just because I'm out of it. I'm like, I don't care. I'll just drop my best players. I wouldn't do that, but I would still play up until the end, even though I've been eliminated.
Yeah, I think because you have a good chance based on the brackets, even if you came in 7th place and out of the playoffs, or you could have actually came in 3rd place. Well, no, I don't think you can finish that low, but I think in the 7th place and under, you can finish pretty low. So I think we got to think of something to make it a little bit change. Because part of me is, like, I'm an example. I picked up the backup to Josh Jacobs. I put a waiver claim. I had the highest waiver claim on it, which is fair because I'm like, all right, well, it's only 4 of us. But there were other people that had higher waiver claims. And I was thinking, geez, if those guys try to take that guy, that would have sucked. But what happens if I have this backup guy and he goes off and I win the whole thing because I just happen to have... I got lucky and happened to get this waiver pick that technically I wouldn't have gotten from anybody else. Like someone else would have claimed him already. Mm-hmm. That was ahead on the waiver priority than me.
Yeah.
So it does make it trickier, but I know it would be a huge debate in our meeting before the draft. But it's just something I was thinking. I never thought about it before. In our league, we just kind of do it as a courtesy. No one picks up waivers when they're eliminated.
Yeah.
And I thought, is that the right thing to do? Or is it not? So,
or maybe, even if it's a small amount, like I said earlier, say it's $25, and the one coming in last place in the playoff consolation bracket has to pay that to the guy that comes in first in the consolation out of the 4 teams.
I think the people,
right? It's a
I think
small
all
amount
4
of money.
teams that don't make the playoff. My thought is, and because we're all adults in our league, in our age, we all have jobs. We can all do this. Some are making podcasting their full-time career. Like, why not all 4 people that come in last? Like you get this attitude, I gave up, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
What if you don't make the playoffs and each of you have to throw in $25 and you're paying for the food for next year? You're putting the down payment for the dinner.
I mean, there's a million things we could do, right? I think that's not a bad idea either. Like that should be brought up.
It should be a punishment. You didn't make the playoffs. There's no penalty for it. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, if you didn't get it, it's all the trash talking we do.
Yeah.
You get eliminated. Maybe there should be a fee. It's like, hey, you know what? You're buying draft lunch for everybody. Yeah. Like you're responsible. Not the whole thing, but if everybody threw an extra $25, it's like, shit. Now we're eating thanks to you because you guys, you draft stock. We got to make it more fun and challenge ourselves.
Well, there's one person in the league that would argue it,
Mr. Roper,
and there would be one person that would welcome it because he wouldn't care anymore because he's out of the league after this year, and that would be R3.
Well, we would. Yes. R3 is full of shit. He wants to sit in his underwear and watch the Patriots in peaceful time.
Do you think R3's coming back? Let's throw that out there. I think he's coming back.
He's in the finals. So I go both ways. Like if he doesn't win it, there's a part of me that doesn't want to win him because I don't want him leaving on a high note. Because it's like I want you like.
No, I think if he's in the finals, whether he wins or loses, he's coming back. If he loses this weekend, then he might be out. That's what
I mean. Like a part of me would like to see him like, all right, leave embarrassed, or make him to the finals and maybe like get that hunger. I just don't understand. I don't get the logic of why he's leaving. I find like all of us, like we all say, I'm so frustrated when you're losing, or you don't feel like you have a great team. You always feel like this is my last year. I can't deal with this crap. And then this spring and summer start rolling in, and then you start hearing fantasy talk. All your friends are talking fantasy. Part of you is like, do I really want to be out of this? Like, do I want to be that guy that can't engage in that conversation and just look at everybody when they're talking about fantasy and laughing and looking at their phones? There's a part of it it is fun. Like, it is part of like, how much conversations do we have that are fantasy related? It's like it consumes a lot of...
If R3 listens to this podcast, and I know he does, because all of our friends, they all listen to our podcast. They all subscribe. They're big fans of ours. If he's listening, I'm going to tell him right now, I'm rooting for him. He's the guy I'm rooting for because I certainly don't want you to win it. I definitely don't want Mr. Roper to win it. And maybe we could give him maybe we give the other guy in our league the nickname. We can just call him the Mute.
Yeah,
maybe it's just the Mute.
Unless it's,
I don't want the Mute to win.
Unless it's other strange men at a bar that he wants to talk to.
That's right. That's right. He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants
Comes out of his shell for a guy with a beard and leather pants. That seems to spark his interest. But all of his friends can only say like 5 words and smile.
That's right.
So.
That's right. That's right. There was somebody who drove up in a car with him for 2 hours up to a guy's trip up in Maine and did say like 3 words to him. Was sitting right next to him in the passenger seat. Didn't say 3 words to him. They get to a bar and he has a full conversation with a guy, some random stranger at a bar.
Yeah. And we're not talking about he's not with
the
friends that he's known. Like these aren't strangers to him. He's known these people for years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like he doesn't know the people he's hanging out with, and he's his little awkwardness. No. This is just a complete weird mutism that I just don't understand.
That's right. That's right. Hey, you know what? I don't mind. The mute. I do like him. He's a good guy, but I can't have him win his second. R3 all the way. Let's do it. Let's win it, R3. Let's do it.
Yeah, you stay in your underwears and get out of the league. No one cares. All right, folks. Long podcast. Hope you enjoy it. If we don't get release one before Christmas, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And next year, we'll be up and running and ready to go and kicking off the new year with some new exciting podcasts, some exciting movie reviews, and all that other fun stuff and holiday foods. And hopefully in the new year, we'll have our eating contest scheduled and ready to go.
Yeah,
by
exactly. We still got to do that, and by then we'll have wrapped up our fantasy season. So I'm sure the next one will be a good kind of review of the whole fantasy season and talk about who the winner is. And hopefully he's not the guy sitting across from me.
I hope it is, because it's going to be at least a 2-hour podcast.
I will start my own podcast. It will just be the meat. That's it.
No, it's going to be about my eye for talent. All right. Just remember to sign in onto YouTube if you want to listen to the podcast, or SoundCloud. Please follow on both. And if you want, write a review. Help us out. Other than that, we'll see you guys next year.